Okay, because I will be talking a lot, and the screen will just be for
Okay.
follow-up purpose. So today I'm going to speak on basically the idea was originated from the title which was given to me about design thinking in architecture, architectural education, and the title of my presentation will be basically research-based design studio approach for interactive and innovative design solutions. So this is something which has been followed in Ethiopian architectural education for quite a long. And just to give you a brief introduction, that these curriculums have been derived from European curriculums. Basically, the evaluation systems and the curriculum setup is done according to the European curriculum system. So we will see how research-based design studio approach has been used, and we will see how this approach is different from what we use conventionally in India, and then we will also see what are the basic drawbacks and advantages, or even how it can be compared with the approach of design studio which is used in India. So when we talk about architectural design, we know that architectural education is a multifaceted field that integrates human values, sustainability, environmental factors, technology, and more into building design to satisfy human needs. It deals with human activities and the spaces required to perform those activities. And when we see the origin of architectural education, when I'm talking about education, I'm basically talking about a very formalized education system. It can be traced back to the 16th century when in the France, King Louis has started an academy uh, ac- and academics in which they were delivering architectural education. We also know that architectural design plays an important role in the eventual development process of an architectural profession. So, whatever architectural professional we are looking at, architectural design plays an important role in his development. So when we talk about design teaching in architectural education and the different approaches, we have seen a very seesaw kind of changes in the past 2 centuries of architectural education. As we already know that we have moved into different segments of architectural theories, wherein we have been introduced to classicism, where we have been introduced to neoclassicism, we have been introduced to modernism, postmodernism, contemporary. So different era saw a different way of approaches, and these eras interchangeably took the approaches from each other. Also, we can also see the basic approaches which has been adopted by Bohos and the universities in the far west. So they have also used many approaches in the past 2 centuries. This was basically because there was a shift of perception on the function of an architect, which is still is not what do you say? You cannot say there is a decorum on what actually the function of an architect is. If you see the American standards, they define architect as with a different function. If you see the function of an architect in Riva, it's quite different. If you see the function of an architect in India, it's totally different. So there has been a different shift of perceptions on the function of an architect, which makes the journey of adapting this design teaching approach riddle very hard to solve, basically, because when we talk about the function of an architect, the learning and the teaching system should be done in such a way that those professionals should satisfy those function of an architect which is expected in that particular country or region. So we can also see that there has been difference in professionals from different regions because of this different approach of teaching as well as the function. So you can see that the architects coming from different regions have their own strengths and weakness, as well as these architect professionals also change from different institutions in the same regions also. So therefore, design teaching approach is very what do you say, not aligned, but it is much more very spontaneous, which is getting followed in universities. And the difference can also be clearly related to the design teaching approaches, the culture, the design studio culture that has been followed in each institutions and regions. And also the room to harmonize things is very little due to the fact that each approaches has their own merits and demerits. So the debate for which approach is really good or which approach really works out, it's quite debatable because they have their own merits and demerits. So harmonizing these things are a bit difficult. So we can clearly say that any given approach is, we cannot say that it is the best. It's highly impossible to say any given approach is best, and there will always be coexistence of various approaches in design teaching. So whatever I'm going to talk about today as a design approach, that is a design research-based design. So I'm not advocating that this is the only approach that has to be used, but it can coexist, and we can take it as a positive, whatever are there from that, and we can apply it. So when we say research-based design, one of the underlying idea of a research-based design is architectural design is an eventuality. When we talk about eventuality, we particularly talk about that any architectural design which is happening all around the world, it doesn't happen spontaneously. You cannot design in a village or G plus 30 structure and say that this architecture is originating is good here. So the architectural design is always an eventuality which takes place depending on the place, depending on the region, depending on the environment, depending on the people, depending on the culture. So it's basically an eventuality depending on the stages of development. So we always believe that we cannot force an architectural design style or architectural design, but it has to be evolved within that particular space. So going into that, we also advocate that problem is a very important part of architectural solutions, because without problem, architectural solutions will always have some kind of debatable aspects. So identifying the problem is very important. Again, the dynamics of problems has to be clearly understood for the architectural solutions. So we have to understand the dynamics of the problems, because when we say that the problems are very volatile. So what are the different factors that creates a problem, and what are the different factors that leads to a problem, has to be understood very well for an architectural solution. Then we also believe that factors that affects problem and solutions. So there are various factors that affects problem as well as the solution. So to give a very small example, I will quote context as that very big factor which affects both problem and solution. Because context also helps you to understand the problem. Context also helps you to establish the solution. So as context, we can have other factors also that can affect both problem and solution. So, moving on ahead with this, I will try to briefly introduce to you about the research-based design approach in Ethiopian architectural education, just to give an overview. So, first we'll start with the syllabus. As I already told you that the Ethiopian universities are following the European system of education, and most of the syllabus and its content are derived from European system. When we say talk about the European system basically focuses on modular modules, different modules. So the whole syllabus are divided into different modules. So the whole BArch Bachelor of Architecture course will have around 32 modules, and under these 32 modules, there are different courses which are related to those modules, and then each module support another modules. So there is a complete delineation, and the what do you say, the availability of those modules and the usability of those modules are existing within that particular framework. So when we say about these module systems, there are different courses which are relevant to the research-based design approach. That is very important, because we cannot teach design till the time we do not have supportive knowledge which can help you to arrive to this research-based design solutions. So there are many courses which are relevant to the research-based design approach. Those courses start with very unique courses such as uh, history of architecture, in which again it is designed in such a way that under the history of architecture they try to see that how every historical events creates an architectural outcomes, and how architectural outcomes are influenced by historical events. So those courses also support the attitude in which the students learn that how cities are basically shaped by the culture that exists in the city. So there are many courses in the same way. Even when we talk about structure, so when we talk about the structural courses in India, we are having theory of design and structure only, but in Ethiopia education system. The structural courses are delivered into different thematic approaches to building design, in which they are talking about appropriate building technology. Then they are talking about dealing with different types of structural solutions in different types of regions around the world. Then they are talking about earthquake resistant architecture. So it is much more robust and much more focused on a design delivery system. So from the initial core, these courses advocate that the architectural design which is getting going to be made should be basically based on the different factors that influence it, rather than that you make a design and try to go for a structural layout and all those things. So first they have to talk about the structures, and then you have to think about what design best suits in that environment. So design is something which adapts and originates, along with the given conditions and situations. uh, and the next thing is the deliverables, which are very important in a research based design. So the deliverables are organized semester wise, the deliverables are organized course wise. These deliverables are also directly related to the amount of hours that are allocated to the particular course. So when we talk about design courses, so in Ethiopia you are having the major research-based design courses start from integrated design 1, integrated design 2, integrated design 3, integrated design 4. So every integrated design is having again the deliverables and the number of hours allocated according to the complexity of the whole process. And also when we see this different courses, integrated design, then rather than talking about architectural design, they call it as an integrated design, because they feel that design is an integration of various elements. So that again increases a new research approach in that particular uh, design studio. When we talk about the expected outcomes of the design, research-based design is more supportive towards solutions. So rather than only explaining what design you have done, you have to explain that how that particular design approach or particular design that is already made solves the issues, solves the problem which has been identified through the process. So in the expected outcome, you need a very logical reasoning of every design solutions that has been made and how those solutions solves the problem that has been identified during the research phase. So that's why the design becomes, a part based on the complete research that is done. So the outcomes are detailings and all those are particularly related to how this particular solution will solve the problem. So now I will put a detailed focus on the process of how research-based designs are conducted in Ethiopia. Particularly, I will be sharing experiences from my studio sessions, which has been taken. I have been teaching in Ethiopia from the last 12 years, and I will be supporting all the different approaches with the different experiences that I have gained through this time. The first and the foremost important aspect of research-based design is understanding the course objective. Because when we do a research, you have to understand that what you have to learn out of that research. So what is done is the course is completely delineated, and there is a general course objective and there is a specific course objective. General course objectives talk about the general outcome of that particular course, and when we talk about specific course objective, it basically talks about what specifically has to be learned in that particular course. It may be pertaining to services, it may be pertaining to landscape, it may be pertaining to urban development, it may be pertaining to different thematic areas. So that's how uh, specific objectives are set. So any design, when a design course starts, the first and the foremost responsibility of the design staff is to introduce to the students to this course objectives, to completely tell the students that what they are going to learn, to tell the students that what exactly they need to achieve through this course. Once that is done, we also try to create we start identifying the action boundaries, because the students will be doing a research, and research is, the boundaries of research can be very small, can be very large. And as an architectural student, at the student phase, we do not expect that they will be apt enough with knowledge that they can identify achievable action boundaries. The idea of identifying action boundaries is because those should be achievable in the semester. During the semester hours, those should be achievable. So what we do in this, we try to identify the spatial boundaries, like and how much area they can do the research, and also the thematic boundaries, that what components of that research can be integrated in that particular semester design course. Once we identify the action boundaries and tell the students that what are the boundaries they have to follow during conducting the research, we tell the students to seek out the problem. So the students are that is basically problem identification. So we do not give the problem to the student. The student comes with a problem to us to identify the problem. Excuse me. So to identify the problem, the students move on to the site, the action boundaries which were delineated to the students, they move to the site and they try to identify the different problems which are existing in the site, and those problems should basically be related to the thematic aspects that has been already told to the student. I will be giving you a detailed example of how such things are happening, but I will just first put emphasis on the process. Then, once the problem identification is done, problem analysis is conducted. So the students try to analyze the problem. They are, under the problem analysis, three important aspects: the actors for that particular problem to happen, and the factors that leads to the problem, and then the variables that can change the dynamics of the problems are studied. Under problem analysis, the students do a lot of interviews, they do a lot of site visit, they read about the political background, they read about the development plans, what lead to that problem, they read about the economical constraints. So they do a lot of field activities during this problem analysis phase. And when they collect all those data, they come down to the studio and sit for problem synthesis. So when you talk about problem synthesis, in the problem synthesis, basically, because we should have, I always believe that architecture is having a humane touch. So we try to sit down and go on with the socioeconomic constraints. We go on with how these problems can be custom fitted with different solutions, with customized solutions, which can be pertaining to that particular region or place where the solutions is going to happen. And once this problem synthesis is done, then an action proposal is made, in which the students try to write a detailed proposal on what are the different design approaches or design components which will be taken into consideration, that has been influenced with those problems and which has been influenced with solutions to solve those problems. So our detailed action proposal is written. And then when the action proposal is written, basically the students start identifying the site, then they will do the site analysis. So the design process starts after that. The contemporary design processes, which we are generally doing it, starts after the action proposal. And once all the design and all those are worked out, there is a design report in which there is an analysis of post-design impacts. So the students are told to analyze that once this design comes into being, this design comes to be realized in that particular site, how it will have an impact on the society, on the surrounding, and those impacts should create a positive vibe for the problem to be solved. So all the problems which were existing should be solved or should be impacted in a positive way. So this is the whole process which we follow. So after the action proposal, I did not mention the design phase, which is because it's in common to what we generally follow in India. So that phase is already the same. So now I will talk about a specific example in which we have tried to follow everything which has been mentioned in this. So there is an integrated design 3 studio which is conducted in the 4th year 2nd semester. In the integrated design 3 studio, the objective of the courses are basically to integrate services, to integrate urban design, to integrate low cost construction techniques, thematic techniques into the design process. So what we do is we identify the action boundaries. So we tell the students that whatever the design you do has to be done for the projects which are needed by the society, and then those projects should be designed in such a way that, because it should have an urban approach, so you should have a projects which are influenced by the urban requirements, and then under those proposals you have to study different thematic areas such as low cost construction. You have to study, urban landscape in that. Then you have to also study about the influences of the building regulations and height in that. And then we give them the action boundaries of the city wherever we are working. Or if the city is too big, we try to give the special area into, one particular subunit of the city. So basically in Ethiopia they call it as the kabele. So we give them one kabele, which is one sub city, a small part of the city. So once this is delineated to the students goes to seek out the problem. This is basically done in group also, but few students, they are also very much enthusiastic and they come up with the idea that they want to have their own individual problem study. So we are open to both, and when we do that problem study, they go for a problem identification. They try to do the basic approach which is taken by them is field study, in which they visualize what is existing around, they visualize the situation, they try to identify what is not right in the space where they are doing the study, and so they do the problem identification. So let's say for example, a few students, they went to the bus station and they found that it is very overcrowded, people are not having proper services, they don't have proper waiting areas, it is seen that the buses are haphazardly parked, and it is seen that people are not getting enough services like cafeteria or common services such as toilets and all those things in that. So the students identify such kind of problems, that okay, there is a problem in the bus station. Or the students can also go to the city and see that people, there is a lack of recreational space, people don't have physical recreational space, people do not have spaces such as public library in that particular area, because the population. So they identify all those problems in that particular area. So once the problem identification is done, they list down 2 3 basic problem identification, and they come back to the studio. They discuss those problems with the instructors, the teachers who are from the courses. Then those teachers try to evaluate those problems in such a way that, will that problem be solved in such a way that, and the magnitude of the design which will be made will be in line with everybody. So the size of the project, the scale of the project, seeing the scale and visualizing the scale of the project on the solution base, the teachers, the instructors try to evaluate every problem identified, and then they suggest them one problem which they should be trying to solve. And once they are given this, basically this clear line that you have to work on this particular problem, the students goes back to the field for problem analysis. Under the problem analysis, the students conduct interview, they conduct major drawing, they conduct interviews and meetings. Focus group discussions are conducted with the community to really understand that what they need and why it has not been done. Let's say for example, this area lacks proper infrastructure of public library. So do the community really need a public library, and if they need it, what kind of public library is needed, and what are the education level of the people, and what kind of reading sections the people expects in that particular area. So all those things are done through interviews, that they conduct site visit, major drawings, they conduct focus group discussions and all those things, and identify the actors, factors and the variables of those particular problems. And once those are there, the students comes back and presents every actors, factors and variables, and then they make a hierarchy, they make a matrix in which they try to put evaluative points to the various factors that creates the problem, and various out expected actors that can solve the problem. Once those are done, those presentations are done, the students sit down for problem synthesis. Now, under the problem synthesis, the students tries to recommend solutions to that particular problem. So basically, if we are talking about a public library, so after the focus group discussions, the problem analysis, the students sit down and they try to propose that these problems, the people need this kind of spaces, the people need this kind of reading spaces, the education level of the students, the people are like this, so they need more recreative reading, or the people are more prone to technology, so they need what to say, smart what to say, wi-fi's and all those things, so that people can use wi-fi areas and all those. So they synthesize the problem in which they try to see what are the social aspects of the people, the mindset of the people, the economical aspects of the people, what is their paying capacity, and all those to that particular solutions, and then they try to find a solutions to that. Once they are ready tentatively with what they are planning to do, they make an action proposal in which they try to formulate in the action proposal the program of that particular, the design project. They define the design project which will be they will be undertaking. They define the program, what are the different programs for that particular proposal depending on the problem synthesis, and then they try to develop specific outlines in which those proposals, those projects will be designed. So when that action proposal is written and those action proposals are approved by the instructors, the students goes to the designing stage. And once the designing is done, the students, along with the design submission, they also submit a design report in which they will be analyzing the post design impacts and how those problems can be solved during those by those particular design. So now I would like to just roughly share my views on how problem-based design approach and research-based design approach fare when we compare against each other. In India, basically, when we give a problem-based design approach, the students' ability to understand the problems and the students' ability to understand the various factors, actors, and the role players of that particular program is diminished. Whereas in research-based design approach, the students are already aware that they have to know about the different, because they are going to design the program, they are going to define the problem itself, so they have a much more open view towards identifying the problems and the problems and all the factors that affects the problem. Problem-based design approach becomes more mechanical in function, whereas research-based design approach becomes much more robust, because whatever the concepts and whatever the process will happen, it will be basically be highly influenced by the context, by the surrounding which is happening. In problem-based design approach, most of the time, one of the major drawback in the problem-based design approach is students don't get a clear idea about how context will help them to shape their design. So taking context to concept becomes very difficult in problem-based design approach. But in research-based design approach, it is very easy to take context into concept in design. So most of the time when we see the concept in problem-based design approach, it is more about solving the problem. But when we say in research-based design approach, the concept of any design will be more influenced by the various variables, and it becomes also more philosophical in shape. So this is what is the difference between problem-based design approach and research-based design approach. Now, from my side, to speak more on research-based design approach and try to tell you that how it may support the development of architectural professionals. When we take a research-based design approach, it gives the architects, the professionals, more human touch, so that they understand like how a human can really influence every architecture which is existing around them. So the sensitivity part of architecture, that is, our sensitivity towards the surrounding, the sensitivity level as compared to research-based design approach. So research-based design approach is more valued in today's context, and as I told you that this is something which is derived from Europeans, because now Europeans believe in more of a sustainable development, wherein sustainability is defined taking into considerations all the role players, all the stakeholders of that particular element. So research-based design approach gives us much more better scope towards sustainable development. So this is what are my views and all those. Moving way forward, as I already mentioned, that we cannot be very much particular that one particular system of design approach will solve our problems, because as I told you, every design approach has its own merits and demerits. So in the way forward, I would love to see research based design approach integrated into problem based design approach, in which the problems should be re-researched, and the students, rather than giving the students what exactly they have to do, the students should find out the way that what are the things that has to be involved while doing the design. So we should increase the component, sorry, we should increase the component of research in the program development minimum, so that it will help the students to understand that what what makes things much more workable and much more acceptable to the people and the community. So this is what I think the way forward is. And now I will take, this is the end of my presentation, and I would love to hear some questions or queries regarding this. Thank you.